All right, today we're jumping into a seriously creepy story called the Rampur Haveli Curse. It's all about this ghost hunter, Akshay Kumar, a guy who is so confident, so sure of himself, he's on a mission to prove one very simple thing about the supernatural. Okay, let's get into it. So his whole philosophy is right here. Ghosts are just stories, not reality. He's made a career out of debunking haunted places, 100 of them in fact. But you know, that kind of confidence, that's the classic setup for a fall in any good horror story. And his next target? Well, it's a place that's about to challenge everything he thinks he knows. The infamous Rampur Ghost Mansion.
In the backstory of this mansion, it is pure horror gold. The legend says that about 20 years ago, a tantric killer made this place his personal lair. The police actually found 15 bodies there, but the killer himself vanished, never caught. So the stakes are already incredibly high before our guy even sets foot on the property.
Now you can't have a hardcore skeptic without a believer. And in this story, that's Malika. While Akshay is laser-focused on his 100th episode, thinking about the millions of views he's going to get, Malika is basically our emotional early warning system. She has a really bad feeling about this whole thing.
And you can really see the clash between them right here. For Akshay, it's all about the external stuff: views, fame, content. For Malika, it's all internal. It's that gut feeling, that intuition screaming that something is deeply wrong. And that's a classic horror setup, isn't it? When that voice of intuition gets ignored, you just know tragedy is right around the corner.
So the journey to the haunted spot is always a huge part of the story. And sure enough, here they are on a totally deserted road when the story introduces a classic character, the creepy guide. This auto rickshaw driver, Chintu, just kinda appears, almost too conveniently. And the fact that he's willing to go to the one place everyone else is terrified of, that is a massive red flag.
And then Chintu drops this line, just so calmly. He says it like he's telling them the time, not giving them a dire warning. And this is such a critical moment. Malika hears it and she's terrified, as she should be. But Akshay's arrogance just blinds him. He doesn't hear a warning. He hears a guy trying to hustle him for more money. A fatal mistake. And this is where we find out what Chintu is really all about. He's not just a driver, he is a ferryman to the underworld. That box, filled with personal items, jewelry, and blood-stained relics from all the victims who came before, it's horrifying. It confirms he's a part of whatever evil is waiting at that mansion. They're not just getting a ride, they are being delivered.
After Chintu's chilling promise to wait for them, the story hits its point of no return. The second Akshay and Malika walk through that front door, it slams shut behind them. Bam, that's it. It's a classic horror move, right? It physically traps them, but it also signals that the rules of the real world, they don't apply anymore.
And things escalate like immediately. It's this textbook buildup of terror. First the door slams. Then they see a ghost, the classic woman in white at the end of the hall. Then comes the shock reveal. Her face is horribly disfigured. And finally the horror becomes part of the house itself, with the walls literally starting to bleed. It's one terrifying punch after another.
But then the story shifts from just, things jumping out at you, to something way more psychological and messed up: the mirror. It's a classic symbol in horror, right? It's supposed to show you yourself. But when Akshay's reflection starts acting on its own, first with that creepy 2-second delay, and then smiling at him, that's a whole other level of fear. It's a loss of self, a loss of control.
So they run from the psychological terror of the mirror and end up straight in the physical horror of a basement, which turns out to be a torture chamber. But it's down here, surrounded by all this brutality, that they find something that changes everything: a diary. And this is the moment the story shifts from just trying to survive to trying to figure out why. Why is all this happening?
And this timeline just lays out the whole horrifying puzzle. The diary reveals the villain's name, Raj Prakash, and his twisted plan to turn the Haveli into a trap for souls. But most importantly, it connects everything. The burned woman they saw, that's Rajmi. And the creepy driver, Chintu, he's her father. He's not just some monster's sidekick. He's a tragic, grieving father stuck in an awful deal, desperately hoping to save his daughter's soul.
So what was this tantric's end goal? Well, it's a pretty classic motive in supernatural horror. Raj Prakash wasn't just a killer, he was a collector. He believed that human souls were a power source, and if he could trap enough of them, he could become some kind of god in his own little corner of the world. It gives his evil a purpose, a twisted logic that makes him even scarier. Just as they figure all this out, another key character shows up, the wise old man. The old watchman appears out of nowhere, confirms all their fears, and, most importantly, he gives them the solution. He points right to the mirror and tells them that's not just some spooky object, that's the source of the power. And the objective is suddenly crystal clear. If you want to get out, you have to break the mirror. So, armed with this knowledge, the story just barrels towards its climax. Akshay, the guy whose skepticism has been completely shattered, finds an axe. This is it, the final showdown. But just as he gets ready to destroy the heart of the haunting, the evil in that house gets ready to fight back with everything it's got.
And in this moment, the entire Haveli just becomes one single furious monster. These aren't random scares anymore. It is a coordinated attack. You've got blood pouring from the walls, skeletal hands ripping up through the floor, and shadows literally taking shape and attacking them. And the most chilling part? The souls trapped in the mirror start screaming, trying to protect their own prison.
Akshay's one attempt to be the hero, it fails. The axe just cracks the mirror, and in that split second of failure, the evil grabs its chance. A hand reaches out from the mirror, not to attack him in the room, but to pull him into its world. This is the ultimate defeat. The skeptic doesn't just die. He becomes part of the very supernatural story he tried so hard to disprove.
Malika tries to save him, but it's useless. It's too late. Akshay's last words are him screaming for her to save herself. And then, with one last violent pull, the mirror consumes him. He's just gone. The hero doesn't win, the story we thought we were watching is over, and the horror has claimed its prize.
The climax might be over, but we're left with this absolutely chilling aftermath. Malika is the only one left. She looks into the mirror and sees Akshay, trapped right there alongside Rashmi, now a part of the curse forever. And it's like the Haveli is satisfied, because it just lets her go. And who's waiting for her outside? Chintu, grimly waiting to complete his part of the cycle. And then, the story hits on one of horror's most frustrating themes. Nobody believes the survivor. Malika tells the police the truth, the completely unbelievable truth, and to them, it just sounds crazy. They don't treat her like a victim who's been through trauma, they treat her like a suspect. She's totally and completely alone. And here is the final cruel irony of the whole story. The police find Akshay's camera, and on it is the one thing he spent his entire life looking for: real, undeniable proof of ghosts. The evidence that would have made him world famous exists, but only because it recorded his death. It proves everything was real, but it's far too late for him. But the horror isn't over, not by a long shot. In the final scene, we see that this is all a never-ending cycle. Chintu is right back at his post, waiting. And who does he find? A new character, a young, ambitious travel vlogger, desperate for his channel to go viral. He is a perfect mirror image of Akshay at the very beginning of our story.
You can see Chintu hesitate for just a moment, maybe a flicker of guilt, but he agrees to take the vlogger. He's still trapped by his grief, by that false hope that one more soul might finally free his daughter. And as he drives the next victim toward the mansion, the whole sick cycle just starts all over again. It leaves you with this haunting question: what's the stronger prison here? The cursed mirror, fueled by a father's grief, or the relentless ambition that keeps leading new victims right to its door?